Aldous Huxley's warning in Brave New World paints a chilling picture of a society enslaved not by force, but by pleasure. Unlike Orwell's vision of oppression through fear in 1984, Huxley foresaw a world where people are pacified by entertainment, shallow pleasures, and endless distractions, so much so that they willingly surrender their freedom. But how does this warning apply today? And how does the pursuit of pleasure lead to modern slavery? The ancient battle between pleasure and freedom. From ancient Greece to modern psychology, thinkers have warned about the dangers of hedonism. Aristotle distinguished between eudaimonia, a life of deep fulfillment, and hedonism, the relentless chase of pleasure for its own sake. Stoic philosophers like Seneca and Epictetus saw excessive pleasure as a trap, making people weak and dependent. Fast forward to Rome. The empire's decline was marked by excess, gladiator games, feasts, and debauchery. While the Republic thrived on discipline and civic duty, the later empire drowned in indulgence. The citizens, entertained by bread and circuses, stopped questioning their declining freedoms, mirroring Huxley's fears of a society distracted into submission. The modern pleasure trap, a Huxleyan nightmare. Today, pleasure has become more accessible than ever. Social media offers endless dopamine hits, pornography reshapes desires, and consumerism fuels an insatiable hunger for more. The result? A population addicted to instant gratification, unable to focus, work deeply, or resist control. Think about it. The average person spends 7+ hours daily on screens, consuming content engineered to keep them hooked. Dopamine-driven platforms create addiction loops, rewiring the brain to crave constant stimulation. Pornography use skyrockets, leading to real-world intimacy struggles and desensitization. Each of these addictions keeps people docile, disconnected, and enslaved to their desires, a reality Huxley predicted decades ago. The hidden controllers: who benefits? While people drown in pleasure, who profits? Big tech, the entertainment industry, and consumer brands. Just as Huxley warned, modern slavery isn't enforced with chains. It's woven into entertainment and convenience. Big tech controls behavior through algorithmic manipulation. Every scroll, like, and notification is carefully designed to keep users engaged. Governments use distractions to mask deeper issues. Economic instability, privacy invasions, and policy failures go unnoticed because people are too entertained to resist. Corporations thrive on addiction, selling processed food, gambling apps, and pharmaceuticals to keep consumers dependent. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a system where pleasure is weaponized to control and pacify the masses. Breaking free, the path to true freedom. Escaping modern slavery requires reclaiming discipline and rejecting passive pleasure. Here's how. 1. Dopamine. Detox. Reduce reliance on instant gratification by cutting back on social media, pornography, and shallow entertainment. 2. Deep work and purpose. Replace distractions with meaningful goals, reading, building skills, and pursuing challenging work. 3. Physical and mental discipline. Train your body and mind. Exercise, journal, and embrace discomfort. 4. Spiritual and philosophical growth. The path to long-term fulfillment. In today's world, the constant pursuit of pleasure often stands in stark contrast to deeper spiritual and philosophical growth. To break free from the chains of fleeting gratification, one must embrace a framework that values long-term fulfillment and purpose. Let's start with the ancient wisdom of Stoicism. a philosophy founded in Greece that teaches us to focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. The Stoic philosophers, Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, were aware of the temptations of pleasure, and they warned against living a life dictated by sensory indulgence. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius frequently reflected on the idea that true happiness lies not in external pleasures, but in internal discipline and virtue. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Seneca took this further, urging us to cultivate a life of purpose and contemplation. In his essay, On the Shortness of Life, he highlights how people waste their time chasing ephemeral pleasures, like fame, wealth, or trivial distractions, while neglecting what truly matters, the pursuit of wisdom, virtue, and meaningful experiences. Seneca reminds us that time is the most valuable resource we have, and the wise person invests it in activities that lead to growth, whether spiritual or intellectual. To bring Stoicism into practice, we must first understand that pleasure is fleeting, and our pursuit of it should not define us. Instead, let's focus on developing virtues like courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. Just as the Stoics maintained a sense of calm amidst adversity, we too must learn to distance ourselves from the noise of immediate desires, choosing reflection and action that aligns with our long-term goals. Beyond Stoicism, faith has always served as a guiding light for millions, offering a framework to prioritize long-term growth over momentary indulgence. In many faith traditions, including Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, the concept of self-control, delayed gratification, and spiritual maturity are central. In the Christian tradition, the Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 9:25, "Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever." This imagery of an athlete training for a goal reflects the idea that spiritual growth is a long-term journey, requiring perseverance and self-discipline, rather than the temporary rewards that modern society often seeks. 5. Resist algorithmic control, intentional media consumption. The modern world is designed to keep us distracted. Social media, smartphones, and streaming services are all built around one central goal: to keep us scrolling, watching, and clicking for as long as possible. This endless engagement is not by accident, but by design. Algorithms are constantly tracking our preferences, pushing us content that appeals to our lowest desires, whether that's the next viral video, endless memes, or clickbait news stories. We must resist this pervasive control. Just as ancient cultures resisted mindless distractions to focus on higher pursuits, we must actively decide to limit our exposure to these manipulative technologies. This resistance is not about rejecting all media, but being intentional about what we consume. Instead of scrolling aimlessly, we can choose to consume content that challenges us, educates us, and deepens our understanding of the world. Let's look at the example of Socrates, who famously declared, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Socrates didn't have social media, but his approach to life was shaped by the same principle we must adopt: to avoid distraction and seek deeper meaning in everything. He spent his days asking questions, engaging in thoughtful dialogue, and encouraging others to think critically. In a world filled with distractions, Socrates' method of philosophical inquiry serves as a powerful reminder to resist mindless consumption of entertainment and instead engage with content that sharpens our minds and spirits. Even more profound is the ancient story of Alexander the Great, who, despite his conquests and fame, sought knowledge from his philosopher mentor, Aristotle. Aristotle believed in the power of reason and intellectual pursuits, advising Alexander that true greatness is attained not through glory or external victories, but by virtue and wisdom. Alexander's ability to resist the pleasure of indulgence and seek wisdom directly shaped his leadership, a legacy that persisted long after his empire crumbled. In modern times, the addictive nature of platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok resembles the same distractions that plagued ancient societies. Dr. Cal Newport, in his book Deep Work, highlights how shallow engagement with technology is eroding our ability to concentrate deeply and achieve mastery. In a society where distractions abound, intentionality is key. Just as we choose our friends and environments, we must also choose the media that we consume. To break free from algorithmic control, we must set boundaries. For example, we can limit social media use to a specific time each day, ensuring it doesn't dominate our lives. We can subscribe to channels or platforms that foster meaningful learning, such as educational podcasts, documentaries, or intellectual discussions. Reading should also be a key part of our routine. Books that push the boundaries of our thinking and offer deeper insights into the human experience. Finale. A call to awareness. Huxley's vision is unfolding in real time. We live in a world where pleasure is a tool of control, making people compliant without them realizing it. But awareness is the first step to resistance. Will you continue to be a slave to pleasure, or will you reclaim your mind?